Hey everyone, welcome to Fueling the Quarterback Ranch Spring Break Camp. My name is Amy Goodson, and I am the sports dietitian that works with Quarterback Ranch. And I'm here today to help you fuel your football athlete as they attend camp. So a little bit about me, I have been a sports dietitian for 18 years and have worked Pee-wee to pro across all sports, but especially in football. I've worked with middle school, high school, and college sports. So I worked for TCU with football also for 10 and a half years. I also worked for the Dallas Cowboys for 4.5 years, and as well as served as the director of sports nutrition for the Startup Football League, the Alliance of American Football. So I've done football a few times at a few levels in my life, and I'm really excited to bring you some quick information on how you can best fuel your athlete this week. Now, we want to be a resource for you at the Sports Nutrition Playbook. We have all different types of services, and you can visit them at thesportsnutritionplaybook.com. We have a free podcast that you can listen to. It's called the Sports Nutrition Playbook, available on Spotify, Apple, and Google. And then, of course, you can follow us on social media at the Sports Nutrition Playbook. We put out sports nutrition information geared at the middle school and high school athlete 5 days a week. So we would love to connect with you there. So today, I am going to talk about what you can do this week to fuel your athlete to go to camp this Thursday and this Friday. So first, we're going to talk about carbohydrate loading, and then we're going to talk about pre, during, and post-camp fuel and hydration. And then finally, we'll close out with a few keys to success to help your athlete stay fueled and hydrated throughout this whole week, and especially through camp. So let's start with carbohydrate loading. This may or may not be a familiar term to you, but carbohydrate loading basically comes from the concept of trying to maximize your glycogen stores. Glycogen is your stored carbohydrate in the muscle, so that you are fueled up to start whatever game, activity, camp, tournament that you are going to be participating in. So the best way I like to describe this to people is to think about a car. So if you're going to go on a road trip, you go down to the gas station and fill the tank up with gas. You might even try to top it off to make sure you got the maximum amount of gas in that car. That is what carbohydrate loading is, except we're doing that to your glycogen or carbohydrate stores in the muscle, with the idea that we're going to get the athlete ready to be maxed out with the max amount of energy on board that they can have, so that they have plenty of fuel to get to and through the camp and through the different workouts. So a few strategies to carbohydrate load. So carbohydrate loading really just means taking in more carbohydrate than you typically do. So we want your athlete to start fueling with more carbohydrate the 48 hours before. So if camp starts on Thursday afternoon, come Tuesday afternoon, we want them to start eating more carbohydrate at each meal and snack. This does not have to be exuberant, just a little more carbohydrate than what they might eat. So an extra slice of bread. Maybe they eat their sandwich on a bagel instead of bread. Maybe they have a little bit more rice or pasta. Maybe they normally have a granola bar and beef jerky, but now we're going to add a banana or a fruit, which is also a carbohydrate. So trying to get a little more at each meal and snack. The day before camp starts, so specifically Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday night, we want to make sure that they are consuming a high carbohydrate, moderate protein dinner to make sure that they're maxed out for the next day. And then we want them to eat a high carbohydrate snack before going to bed. So this could be a smoothie made with milk and yogurt and fruit and honey. It could be a yogurt parfait with granola and fruit. It could be graham crackers and peanut butter and milk, something like that. And then on camp day, we want to make sure that they are eating consistently throughout the day and eating more carbohydrate at each of their meals as they lead up to that 2 o'clock start. And then, of course, we can also add carbohydrates with fluids. So think sports drinks, milk, chocolate milk smoothies. Those are great ways to get in extra carbohydrate the days leading up to camp. Now, when we talk about pre-camp fuel and hydration, I'm going to move into talking about the day of. So spring break camp is going from 2 to 5 p.m., which is great because that means your athlete has time to fuel in the morning and the first part of the day before they can get to camp. Kind of funny, when I worked in the NFL, the guys used to tell me that they hated day games, like noon games, because they didn't have enough time to eat more food before they had to play. So your athletes have a bonus getting to eat more throughout the day. So when we talk about pre-camp fuel and hydration, the goal is to give the athlete enough nutrition to really enhance performance. So I always like to say to get their energy levels up, to get them to and through at least the beginning part of that training session. When you have fuel on board, you're able to optimize performance. We also want to optimize hydration because we know, even though it's not super hot yet here in Texas, that they're going to be sweating, they're going to be moving a lot, and we know that dehydration can cause a decrease in performance. And so it's really important that they're drinking water, sports drink, milk, chocolate milk smoothies, etc. throughout the day so that they're hydrated when they start camp. Now, when should your athlete be eating before they head to spring break camp? So I'm going to tell you what happens in a perfect world, and then we'll talk about all the reasons that may not happen. So ideally, we want an athlete to eat 3 to 4, 2 to 4 hours, let's say, before a workout, a game, a camp, etc. Basically, so that they can consume enough energy, so enough carbohydrate, protein, food, etc., so that they have enough energy when they get to practice. That food's digested, it's giving them energy, they feel good. That doesn't always happen based on the schedule. As we know, this is spring break, so you're in a little more control of their schedule. But my rule of thumb as a sports dietitian is the closer the meal is to the workout, the easier to digest that meal needs to be. And so if they're eating a lot closer to the workout, the practice, the game, whatever that is, then it probably needs to be an easier digesting food. And I'm going to give you some examples of what that is. So this plate is an idea to kind of show you how we periodize nutrition based on how much an athlete is training. So this plate kind of reshapes based on how much energy an athlete's going to be expending during the day. But for a pre-camp meal plate, we want this plate to be high in carbohydrate, as I mentioned. So you're going to see that this plate is half carbohydrate, a fourth protein, a fourth veggies. We have some extra fruit for additional carbohydrate, fluid, and electrolytes. We have some fat and we have some fluid. We know that your athlete is going to be moving a lot, and we want to make sure that they are well fueled with the energy that they need. So what does that look like in meals? So if camp is starting at 2 p.m., that pre-camp meal should really be going on around 11 a.m. to 12. So kind of like an early lunch, 2 to 3 hours before. If you have an athlete that's a little more finicky of a stomach, you might want to back that up a little bit. So I have examples here of what that meal could look like. That meal could be as simple as beef jerky, pretzels, an energy bar, banana, and a sports drink. It could be a sub sandwich with baked chips and fruit. It could easily be, a pasta meal that's got meat sauce and they're having salad and rolls and, fruit with that meal. So there's a lot of different ways that this meal can look based on what your athlete likes to eat for lunch. But these are some examples of how you would get plenty of carbohydrate, moderate protein, and a little bit lower in fat and fiber so that your athlete has plenty of energy to get to and through the workout. Now, when it comes to pre-camp snacks, so if an athlete ate a good amount before a training session, typically we would recommend them eating a snack. If they ate that pre-camp meal closer to the training session, they may or may not need it. It kind of depends on the athlete. So these are some examples of some carbohydrate, carb protein snacks that your athlete could consume. Say they ate lunch earlier and they need a little something else before they go to practice. Could be as simple as cheese, crackers, and fruit. Could be a protein bar and fruit. If they just need a little something, they could even grab like a granola bar or a banana, just a little bit of carbohydrate to kind of top off those energy stores. But these are some examples of some carb protein snacks that would be great to feed your athlete the 30 minutes to hour before they head off to camp. Now, if you have an athlete that has a finicky stomach, meaning that they don't like eating a lot before they go to practice, play a game, go to camp, etc., there's a few things that you can do to help them be well fueled and well hydrated before they get to camp. So it may not look like the exact perfect way to do it, but I typically recommend for athletes with finicky stomachs that instead of eating one pre-workout or pre-competition meal, that they eat more small meals leading up to the training session, to the game, etc. In this case, camp. So they're not going till 2 o'clock. So they would have multiple opportunities to get in different food, little mini snacks or mini meals or big meals, big snacks, mini meals, that they could get in plenty of nutrition. My goal is that they are accumulating enough nutrition to have a well-fueled body by the time they get to practice, to the game, to camp, etc. So we want to make sure that they're eating pretty normal foods to them, because if they're going to be a little nervous, we don't want to try anything new. This is always a rule on game day. But even for a day like a camp where they might be a little nervous, it's a little out of what they normally do. We want to make sure that we are giving them really familiar foods and also eating more nutrient dense foods. So that means foods that have more calories per bite, which means they're going to be able to eat and not necessarily have as much volume in their stomach and still have the fuel that they need. So these are some examples of what those energy dense foods might look like. They might look like peanut butter filled pretzels that have the little salt pieces on top. Could be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or bagel sandwich. Could be a high calorie protein shake. Could be energy bites if you've ever made those, that are made with peanut butter, honey, oats, protein powder, and whatever dried fruits, nuts, seeds, etc. that you want. Could be granola and beef jerky. So these are just examples of ways that you can get in foods that have more calories per bite. Like if your athlete eats a cup of granola, they're going to get like 300 calories and good carbohydrate. So like some granola and trail mix would be like a really easy way to get in a lot of calories for not a lot of chewing and not a lot of volume. So these are great ideas for athletes that do have a finicky stomach leading up to a workout and they don't want to eat as much. Put some of these energy dense snacks multiple times throughout the day leading up to that 2 p.m. start. Now, when we talk about pre-camp hydration, like I said, it's not as hot here, but we still want to make sure that we are well hydrated. So we want the athlete drinking consistently throughout the day. So from the time they wake up, they need to be drinking fluid, water, milk, chocolate milk, smoothie, sports drink. All of those count as fluid. We also want them to monitor their urine color throughout the day, which I will show you in just a second. And drink at least 16 to 20 ounces of fluid with that pre-workout, pre-camp meal. And then consistently keep drinking leading up to the camp actually starting. Another thing that's important with hydration is electrolytes. So trying to get in salt and potassium, but primarily salt. So that could be eating salty foods, that could be adding salt to food, and that could also be consuming a beverage that has electrolytes in it, and then consistently drinking on that leading up to the start of camp. Now, this is the old school rule of thumb of how to assess your hydration status, but it's really an easy way to do it. So our goal is for your athletes' urine color to be pale yellow to clear. So 1 to 3. If it's 4 to 6, a little bit darker, that's usually a sign they're dehydrated and could show really a strong sign of dehydration if their urine is a darker color. So this is their sign to really say, ooh, it's a little bit darker. I need to keep drinking so that I am able to be well-fueled, well-hydrated when I get to camp. We know that a 2% level of dehydration in the body, which is not very much, equates to about a 10% decrease in performance. As dehydration gets worse, performance declines. So being hydrated is essential to have a well-fueled, well-hydrated body and be able to perform optimally at camp. Now let's talk about during camp, fuel and hydration. So what should we be doing between 2 and 5 p.m. when they're on the field, running drills, doing all the different things? So as I just mentioned, a 2% level of dehydration in the body equates to about a 10% decrease in performance, which means staying hydrated is our #1 goal. Because as an athlete becomes more dehydrated, performance is going to decline. They're going to feel more fatigued. Usually their mental acuity will start to suffer. So bad things happen when you are not hydrated. These are some signs of dehydration, and it's really important that you let your football athlete know what to be looking for. So the moderate signs are oftentimes like thirst, excessive sweating, tiredness, fatigue, headache, dizziness, maybe a little bit of nauseousness. But severe hydration has a lot of really negative consequences. So muscle spasms, sunken eyes, difficulty swallowing, they might feel like lethargic or sleepy. So hopefully, because it's not that hot, we're not going to be experiencing any of these. However, I see athletes suffer if they have not done a good job of drinking. So we want them consistently drinking fluid throughout the day leading up to camp starting. Then there are some general rules of thumb that we want the athlete to follow in the little bit of time leading up to and then getting to camp. So I mentioned about getting 16 to 20 ounces of fluid with the pre-camp meal and then drinking consistently. During camp, they need to be drinking 5 to 10 ounces of fluid every 20 minutes. So that equates to about a bottle an hour. If they don't have a bottle of fluid and they're drinking out of just cups, I always tell them that like a medium mouthful is about an ounce. So they would need 5 to 10 of those swallows. So ideally, you're sending them with a few bottles of water and sports drink because if they're going to be out there for 3 hours, they need to stay hydrated. Typically, we want electrolyte-rich fluid, so that could be sports drink, that could be adding electrolytes like Noon tablets, salt sticks, those types of things to their water or to their sports drink so that they have enough sodium. We know that sodium is the culprit to cramping, and when an athlete is drinking too much water and sweating a lot, they start to dilute their blood levels of sodium, and that can cause muscle cramping. So drinking consistently. They can drink water, but I really recommend that they do an electrolyte-rich beverage or just go ahead and start with the sports drink. Typically, you don't really need carbohydrate on board till after 90 minutes of exercise, but I usually tell athletes that are going to be out there longer than 90 minutes and they know it to go ahead and start fueling early, fuel often, and hydrate early, hydrate often so that you don't get behind in your fuel and hydration. Cold beverages can also be more appealing to drink, and they can help cool the body down, which is going to be essential for when athletes are sweating a lot, et cetera. So that becomes increasingly important as the temperature heats up, but still important as they are at camp. Now, during camp fuel, if you have an athlete that really is moving a ton at practices and they get hungry often, I would recommend having a snack available to them. I mean, 3 hours is a long time to go without any fuel, especially for young boys. So having a granola bar or a protein bar and a banana or like beef jerky and a banana, peanut butter crackers that you can buy little packs. These are going to give you carbs, a little bit of protein, and some sodium. Of course, we want them drinking water and sports drinks throughout. But if there's a little break, they could pop a few of these really nutrient-dense foods in their mouth, even a little bit of granola. This can really help hold them over and keep their energy levels up so that they're staying strong throughout the length of that 3-hour workout and training session. So I would recommend having some snacks available as well as having plenty of fluids. I would say at least having 2 to 3 bottles of fluid available for your athlete to consume while they are at camp. Now, post-camp, it's 5 p.m. You're picking them up or they're driving home. Here's what they should be doing from a nutrition and hydration perspective. Post-workout, post-camp, post-game is all about recovery. And I like to say that recovery has 3 R's: replenish, rebuild, rehydrate. Replenish means you need to replace the carbohydrate burned off during exercise, especially think about Thursday. They have to go back on Friday. So we want to refill up those glycogen or carbohydrate stores. We want to rebuild. So we want to get protein in to provide the amino acids necessary to start rebuilding muscle mass. And then obviously rehydrate. We want to get that athlete back to a normal state of hydration. So we have this 2-hour window after a workout, game, training session, et cetera. We call it the 2-hour window of opportunity, and that we want athletes to fuel as soon as possible to jumpstart the muscle recovery process. Your muscle cells are very sensitive after a workout of any kind to start to take up carbohydrate and amino acids for recovery. So we want to make sure that your athlete has a snack within the 45 minutes after they finish camp. So if camp ends at 5, by 5:30, 5:45, we need a snack. The sooner the better. The faster they put nutrition in their body via food or fluid, the faster they get out of breakdown mode, otherwise known as catabolism, and move into building mode, otherwise known as anabolism. So a snack of carbohydrate and protein as soon as possible, and then we can follow that up with another meal or snack. So in the immediate post-workout window, we want simple carbohydrate and about 15 to 25 grams of protein to jumpstart that muscle recovery process. Simple carbohydrates are important because they digest really quick. And so they're going to get into the bloodstream faster and allow to start that muscle replenishment process of glycogen stores, and then obviously rebuilding protein. So about 15 to 25 grams is going to be ideal. In a perfect world, you can do all 3 R's with beverages. So that could be low-fat chocolate milk. That's going to have carbs, protein, and it's fluid. Could be a smoothie made with milk, yogurt, and fruit, or protein powder, water, and fruit. Could be drinking milk and then having a banana with that, or a granola bar with it. It could obviously be a smoothie. It could also be a granola bar and milk. I love milk because it's high in whey protein and it's got also carbohydrate in it, and it's a high quality protein. But, and if you have lactose intolerant athletes, they could consume lactose-free milk. If you've ever seen the brands Fairlife or Mootopia from HEB, those are lactose-free, a little bit higher in protein. And so those would be solutions for getting that protein in immediately post-workout. Then we want to follow that snack up with another either larger snack or meal. In this case, I would think it would be a meal because it'd be dinner time, to really help them refuel. And this is where we can start to look at a more balanced plate, kind of like what we looked at for the pre-camp meal, where we have about 50% carbohydrate, some protein, some veggies, we have extra fruit, fluid, electrolytes, etc. So these are some of the meals that you could be serving up post-camp. So if they finish at 5, by 6:30 or 7, we should be getting this meal in. So ideally, they're getting that post-workout snack in, and then probably coming home to dinner or going to eat dinner with their friends or whatever they're doing. These are just examples of what it might look like as a sandwich. If you're serving up, lasagna, and you're going to have salad and rolls and fruit, or maybe you're going to have kebabs, you're grilling out for spring break, or burgers. I'm down with that, but let's go lean meat. Let's load up some veggies, and then we need to get some carbs in there. So a whole grain bun, if it is a burger, and pairing it with, fries, sweet potato fries, could also be like baked chips and fruit. If we are doing like kebabs or something like that, make sure we've got rice, quinoa, something to that effect. So plenty of carbohydrates in that post-workout, post-camp recovery meal. And then thinking through really what are some of these keys to success. So as we close out, kind of as a reminder, what are the things that we need to be doing? Fuel early, fuel often, hydrate early, hydrate often. When you get behind in fuel and hydration, it's hard to come back. And typically you can't come back until you stop. And so we want athletes to always be thinking on the front end. How can I get in my fuel? How can I get in my hydration? Monitor urine color from the time they wake up. As Friday, they're going to be more dehydrated than they were on Thursday because they're going to have sweat in more later in the day. So making sure they're consuming plenty of fluids with that post-game or post-camp meal, as well as with the nighttime snack, is going to be really important. Monitoring the urine color. Be sure that we have carbohydrate consistently at all those meals and snacks, but that pre-camp meal is predominantly carbohydrate, moderate protein, plenty of fluid. Hydrate during camp. So consistently hydrate. I know they have to take time, but they have to take the time to do that so that they don't start suffering from dehydration. And then refuel as soon as you can post-camp. So whether that's bringing something, having it with them in their car, or if you, the parent or grandma, aunt, uncle, whoever you are, picking them up, have that chocolate milk ready to go, have that smoothie ready to go, so that they can immediately start the refuel process. So we want this to happen every day that they train. So these are little strategies that you can use to take with you consistently during all workouts, all games. Obviously, depending on the time of the workout, game, etc. There are lots of caveats, but really focusing on fueling camp this week so that your athlete is able to perform at the highest level and really be able to optimize what they're doing at camp training, and then obviously recover so that they feel good after. So here is a sample day based on your camp schedule. Now, if your athlete is getting up at 7:30 a.m. on spring break, I mean, impressive. But I know they want to sleep in. They got to get up and eat. I'm telling you, they have to get up and eat. So getting up between 7:30 and 9, even if they go back to sleep, get up and eat, drink a smoothie and go back to bed. So this can be different, but just showing you some examples: scrambled eggs, whole grain bagel with jelly or jam, banana and milk. Mid-morning snack, they may not be super hungry, so do it with a beverage like a chocolate milk or a smoothie. And then let's do that pre-camp lunch, right? So that pre-camp lunch is, could be a sandwich, a wrap, a bagel. We want salt, we want carbs, protein, etc. And then if they need that snack, maybe it's like a granola bar and beef jerky. Maybe if they need just a little bit of something, it could be a banana or granola bar by itself. During camp, water and sports drink consistently between 2 and 5 p.m. Have snacks available in case they need it, in case they need that extra carbohydrate for energy. Post-workout, post-camp, immediately down some chocolate milk or whatever your recovery beverage of choice is. Then maybe at dinner, we're doing pasta with beef and marinara sauce, salad, breadsticks, fruit roll. And then I would definitely recommend doing a snack at nighttime just to help top off recovery. So that might look like an apple, peanut butter with milk. That could be granola and milk. It could be a smoothie. So lots of different options. Just kind of showing you how I would piece this out. If I was working with an athlete one-on-one, this is how I would piece out their day specific to the spring break camp schedule where they're going to be practicing from 2 to 5 p.m. Now, with that being said, we would love to be able to educate your athletes. I think it's so important for athletes to understand about sports nutrition to fuel their bodies. And I'm going to tell you, I told you I've worked high school to professional. Nutrition is the cheat code what helps athletes. So few athletes do nutrition at the high school level. And if they would remotely tap in to getting better at fueling and hydrating their body, they would likely see performance enhance at a whole new level, recovery enhance, as well as building muscle mass and strength. So we have a course out called the Football Athlete Sports Nutrition Playbook. This is a quick course. It's got 5 modules. We have a pre-workout playbook, during workout playbook, post-workout playbook, weight gain playbook, and a game day playbook about how they can fuel their bodies. We have handouts in there that provide meal and snack examples and really showing them how they can optimize their nutrition. And the best part is the platform that I use it on is an app. So they can watch the videos in an app, they can download the handouts. You as the parent can log on and download those handouts as a PDF. They're yours to have. And for this week, leading into Saturday after spring break camp, we're only charging $29 for this. This is a pretty extensive amount of information that I want to make available for the Quarterback Ranch families. It will be available after this week as well, but it will go up to $39. So you're getting $10 off, so about a pretty good amount off for this camp. But I would encourage you, tap in, scan the QR code. This is going to be at the top of the page when you go to the Quarterback Ranch Sports Nutrition Services page. But this is the key. It is the cheat code to performance and athletic success for athletes. And I'm just telling you, most athletes at this age are not doing it. So if your athlete can tap into fueling and hydrating their body, guarantee you it will take their performance and their recovery to a whole new level, and they will stand out amidst the team and amidst the crowd. And then one more time, my contact information is on here. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us at info@thesportsnutritionplaybook.com. And then we want you to connect with us on Instagram at the Sports Nutrition Playbook. You can again look for my podcast, which is also called the Sports Nutrition Playbook, on Spotify, Apple, and Google. Again, trying to be a resource for you, the parent, you, the grandparent, as well as for the athlete. We know that proper nutrition can take athletic success to a whole new level. So help your athlete fuel and hydrate well this week leading into spring break camp. And hopefully I will see all of you in our on-demand course, the Football Athlete Sports Nutrition Playbook.